So let me start with potential innovations. Almost any study about innovation will say that if you, of all of the products whose product development are initiated in a company, only about 15 to 25% of them will become financially successful. And it's broadly viewed that innovation is a crapshoot. The more projects you launch, the more success you'll be. But in its end, it's a crapshoot. And what we've concluded is that's not true. The reason why it appears that we can't predict in advance whether a customer will buy the products that we're developing is that people at business schools like Harvard teach marketing in a perverse way. And in particular, we've decided that understanding the customer is the wrong unit of analysis. So to illustrate that, just look at me for a second if you wouldn't mind. My name is Clayton Christensen. I am 64 years old, unfortunately. I used to be 6 feet 8 inches, unfortunately, and I now am 6 feet 6 inches, unfortunately. And I married a wonderful wife, fortunately. We have 5 kids. The third of them, Michael, unfortunately came here to Stanford. And I have all kinds of other characteristics and attributes, as you can see. But none of my characteristics or attributes have not yet caused me to buy the New York Times today. There might be a correlation between the propensity that I will buy the New York Times, but my characteristics don't cause me to buy it, nor do our characteristics and attributes cause us to buy any product or service. And yet almost all of the work that we do in assessing market potential, we look at the characteristics or attributes of the potential customers. And a better way to think of it, we decided, is that, darn it, every day stuff happens to us. Jobs arise in our life. And when these jobs arise, we need to find some way to get the jobs done. And some of the jobs are simple, incremental things that happen regularly. Others are dramatic and important breakthrough problems. But whenever we have a job to do, we have to find something and pull it into our lives in order to get the job done. And what we've decided is understanding the job is the critical key to develop products that we can predictably make and find the customers to buy. So to illustrate this point, a number of years ago, as this idea of the job to be done was emerging from our research, McDonald's was trying to decide how they could improve the sales of their milkshakes. And as some of you might know, McDonald's is a very sophisticated marketing company. And they have data out the gazoo about every dimension of what they're doing. And so when you go in on the menu, behind that there is a profile, a demographic profile of the quintessential customer that likes to buy that product when they come. And so what they've done is they have these cohorts of people who are the quintessential milkshake customers, for example. And it turns out that I fit that profile perfectly. So they would take people like me into conference rooms and ask, you know, can you just help us how we can improve the milkshake so you'll buy more of them? The customers would provide very clear guidance about how to improve it. They would then improve the product on those dimensions, and it had no impact or sales whatsoever on the product. So what we decided is that that's not the right way to frame it, but rather, there's got to be a job out there somewhere that people find themselves needing to get done, for which they go to McDonald's to hire a milkshake. And we need to understand what the job is. So one of our colleagues stood in a restaurant one day for 18 hours and just took very careful notes on what time did they buy these milkshakes, what was he wearing, was he alone or with other people, did he buy anything else or just the milkshake, did they eat it in the restaurant or get in the car and go off with it. And it turned out that about 50% of the customers bought the milkshake before 8:30 in the morning. It was the only thing they bought. They were always alone, and they always got in the car and drove off with it. So we decided we need to understand, what was this job, you know? So we came back the next day and we positioned ourselves outside the restaurant so that we could confront these people as they were emerging with their milkshake. And in language that they could understand, we'd ask them, I got a problem with your behavior here. What job were you trying to do that caused you to come here to hire this milkshake? And as they would struggle to answer, we'd try to help them by asking, well, look, think about the last time you were in the same situation, needing to get the same job done, but you didn't come here to hire a milkshake. What did you hire to do the job? And it turned out that they all had the same job to do, and that is they had a long and boring drive to work. And gosh, one hand had to be on the wheel, but somebody gave me another hand and there isn't anything in it to drive with. And I just need to do something with my, while I'm driving. And I'm not hungry yet, but I know that I'll be hungry by 10 o'clock, so I also need something that will just go thunk and stay there till 10 o'clock. So when I have this problem to do, what else do I hire? And one guy said, I never thought of it in these terms, but last Friday I hired a banana to do the job. Take my word for it, never hire bananas. They're gone in less than a minute. I'm hungry by 7:30. Another guy said, you promise not to tell my wife, please. But I hire donuts a lot to get this job done. But they actually don't do the job well. I promised my wife that I'm going to lose money, but I add it. And they crumbs all over my clothes, and my fingers get gooey, and I put that on the wheel. And another guy said, yeah, I do bagels sometimes, but geez, the bagels are so dry and tasteless. I have to steer the car with my knees while I put the cream cheese on. And then if the phone rings, I got 3 problems in 2 hands. And one guy said I hired a Snickers bar to do the job, but I felt so guilty I've never hired Snickers again. But let me tell you, whenever I have this job and I come here to hire McDonald's milkshakes, it is so viscous. It takes me 23 minutes to suck it up that thin little straw. Who knows what the ingredients are? I don't care. All I know is it's in my stomach all morning, and it fits right in my cup holder. And it turns out that the milkshake does the job better than any of the competitors. And the competitors are not Burger King milkshakes, but it's bananas and donuts and bagels and Snickers bars and coffee and a few other things. And then it turned out that in the afternoon, it was hired for a very different job. And that is somebody is a parent, needs to have a sweet, uncluttered time to talk about whatever's on the mind of their child. And they hire the milkshake to do this job, and it does that job very well. But it's a very different job than what the morning job is. And it turns out that this is not unusual, that almost always, Peter Drucker said, that the customer rarely buys what the company thinks it's selling them. And that's why I said at the beginning that understanding the job is what's critical in developing successful products. the customer is the wrong unit of analysis, because the customer finds herself in needing to have different jobs to be done over the course of a day or a week or a month.